Hi guys, it's Gareth here from NeonSales again. I'm bringing you guys another exciting review. So today, last time we had a look at some blank guns, then we had a look at some knives, specifically the rake knives, likewise the honey badger knife. But today we thought we'd bring you guys something a little bit different from the usual blank gun, that sort of thing. Something a bit more practical, shall I say. Not that blank guns aren't practical, just something a bit more, I wouldn't say heavier duty, just something with that has a bit more practical application. You guys will understand once I delve into this product review. So I'm bringing you guys two products here. You guys see them already laid out here. So tonight's topic will be BBs or pellets. Both of course in .177 caliber or 4.5 mil. Okay, so that being said, I'll get us started right off the bat here. So this right here is a really nice and lovely Kalashnikov replica. Of course, the normal Kalashnikovs or the AK-47, the contemporary one, those ones you get, of course, just with a normal wooden furniture. You have a normal fixed wooden stock here. You'd have a wooden handle there, and of course with a front hand guard here. That's of course only wood. So that's how they were. The vintage one were issued. Then later on, you'd have your AK-74s that was chambered in a smaller caliber, in lieu with what most of the NATO nations were doing. So most of NATO, they were switching down from 7.62 by 51 millimeter down to 5.56 by 45 millimeter NATO, and likewise the Soviets or the Eastern Bloc, as they were known, they then likewise scaled down to their own sort of imitation of that cartridge. So yeah, it's just the larger cartridges created a lot of recoil. It made the gun harder to manage during full auto fire, especially with Kalashnikov. Those of you who have fired a firearm one in full auto, usually the older guys that has actually, during those years actually had one, etc., and fired one. You might remember, the barrel would lift as per shot fired, and the rifle in no time at all would become quite unmanageable. That's not even to say with heap fires, that sort of thing. Bullets just go all over the show. The Kalashnikov is not the most, or the firearm variant, not the most accurate rifle. Normally the people say about 200 to 300 meters, as opposed to the AR-15, which is more accurate, up to 800 to 1000 meters or a whole kilometer, so to say. So it's just based upon how the rifle was built and engineered, so to say. The Kalashnikov is all the components, even with the Type 56 that a lot of you guys have, you'll see the components are very loose fitting. It's not like precision made to work in concert and tandem with one another. But then, the Kalashnikov, in the time that it was developed, it was made cheap, as a people's rifle, so to say, so they could mass produce the thing, distribute it to everyone, at next to nothing, and they could churn them out with using factory workers that were relatively unskilled compared to some of the industries that we'd had here in the West. So and it was the rifle they could just then send to all their proxies, etc., for next to nothing, and they could fight the wars on behalf of them. Okay, so really nice little history lesson there. This here, what we have, right off the bat, you guys will see this is a buffer tube, a typical AR-15 type buffer tube. It's not you can even see it looks like a mil-spec type. You can see the flatter base there at the bottom, and then the top and the rounded part on top. So definitely AR-15 spec. You'd never find this on a Kalashnikov that you could buy from Russia, that sort of thing, or Kalashnikov America, that sort of thing, or even a Zastava, or even for that matter, let me think. So normally they would have. So this one really nice. You have the full Picatinny rail on top. So Kalashnikov, normally you'd have this dovetail business, and similar to the Dragunov. So if you wanted to mount an optic, so to say, which in those years they didn't really do, you just fired it using your open sight. So, but nevertheless, the Kalashnikovs, they have this dovetail rail. Then you get that UTG business that you chuck you on the side, and it's like a QD. You just flip the lever and it provides a Picatinny rail on top where you can mount like a red dot, that sort of thing on. Whereas this is now a more kitted one, a more souped up one, as you would call it. So full Picatinny rail here, and then of course a hand guard, non-standard. Yeah, of course it has a lot of I should say Western touches to it, which is really nice. Full Picatinny shroud here on the front, of course, with these holes that would on a firearm, just to dissipate the heat. So as you're firing, especially with a high-powered round like the 7.62 by 39mm, the Soviet cartridges, you would fire that thing, this barrel would heat up considerably. You know, even holding it on the wooden furniture like that, after firing quite a bit, your hands will start to feel that. So what the Soviet troops would normally do on the proctors they teach, they would say, you know, just hold it here around the magazine, that sort of thing, just to prevent the heat from getting to you. But you know, with more modern technologies and innovations, that sort of thing, you know, people, they came out with this sort of business where you can, it's not a modern innovation, it's just, how to put this, forward thinking, let me put it that way, forward and common sense, of course. You know, coming up with a handguard like this, and you dissipate the heat, and of course, yeah, with a nice little foregrip. So if this now was a firearm and I would shoot it, I can hold around my foregrip here, and I would not worry about my hand getting the brunt of all that heat. So yeah, very realistic features. This is a CO2 rifle, by the way, not a firearm. So here you have a nice muzzle brake. It looks a bit phony. I haven't personally seen a muzzle brake that looks like that, but presumably you would probably get them. You know, get things in all shapes and sizes nowadays. And true to the typical Soviet style, it is left-hand threaded, not right-hand threaded. So, and this business, it is of course all polymer here. This business threads off, it is a 1/2 inch by 23 UNF thread. Of course, not the actual Soviet threading, because you know, the barrel on that would be of course thicker to accommodate for that 7.62 caliber. So this one, you would not thread it on like this. It's a left-hand thread, so you would thread it for what do you call it? Counterclockwise in order to fit it on. So if you wanted to on this rifle, even if you do have access to a silencer like that, that's threaded in 1/2 inch UNF left-hand threading, you can chuck this on, and this rifle would certainly shoot quieter. But again, it shoots PVs at about 350 feet per second, so the noise produced in the fuse place is not that loud. And when we do the fire test firing with this rifle, you guys will see for yourselves. It's not that loud, but you can definitely hear. You know, for those who are familiar with gas guns, that sort of thing. If you've shot a non-blow-up gun before, that's capable. You know, that fires 350 feet per second. You guys yourself will see. It does pack a bit of noise, but not anywhere close as like a blank gun, that sort of thing. Okay, so this here is our CPF night combat combo. This is now basically with a whole combo assembled as it is. So included in that deal, you get a nice 2-point sling there, which I have assembled on. I believe I can't remember offhand, but I think the original Kalashnikov, that did come with one of these frontal sling loops. This one is nice, it swivels either way. So if you're a left-hand shooter, right-hand shooter or left-hand shooter, you just swivel it to the way that suits you, and then, you know, also it rotates around. So if you're one of those riflemen that likes to transition from one hand to the other hand, depending on the corner that you're taking, that sort of thing, then this will certainly come in handy. This here at the back, this is just a typical keyring, nothing fancy to it. This clutch clip here, it does not fit through one of these. So normally on the Soviet style, you'd have the sling stud, the sling stud there at the base. Then you would just loop, you would just bow through it and you'd loop it and fix it like this. But on this one, really not. You could do that if this was the loop tuck. You can just loop it there and fix it around like that. But in this one, just for convenience sake, I used a nice keyring here and just fix the clutch clip around this keyring. And Bob's your uncle. You know, this is not really a firearm. I would maybe recommend just use a beefier keyring. I just used what I had on hand just for illustration purposes. But if you're purchasing one like this, just get one of those like really beefy keyrings. Just loop it through here, and then and that will last you for as long as you'll have the rifle. Okay, so let's have a little look at the rifle otherwise. So off the back here we have these sights. I think these are, they are Picatinny mounted. I'm just not on. Right, there's grub screw inserts. So this you would just flip over like that, and there's a grub screw right there. It just looks like a 3 mil. You just thread that out, and right, likewise there should be another one. You just thread it out. That would come out like that. It is mounted on the Picatinny rail physically itself. Otherwise the sights, how you would use these sights, or how they were intended to be used. I think, I'm speaking under correction, but I believe you had these rifle zeroed in at 300 meters, and then once done, so you would do it here for your wind, for your elevation, and then likewise here. You do get those special AK iron sight tools, etc., to zero in your sight. So what a lot of these proxy nations did, they just use a bullet, one of the Kalashnikov bullets, 7.62. They just used a bullet, and just in a way they would shimmy this now left and right as appropriate. So once zeroed in, then these readings there would be accurate for per hundreds of meters. So one would be according to 100 meters, 203, all the way up to 800 meters. It would, of course, beyond 300 meters, it would be a bit impractical, but otherwise you can still, if your enemy is like 200 meters away, you can more or less ascertain just by looking, etc. Then you can just set it on your 200 meter setting, and now your rifle would be, in terms of elevation, corrected for that. Of course, your windage would always hold true. Once you set your windage in, there would never really be a need to adjust for it again. The Kalashnikov bullet is quite heavy, so there's not really much in the way of crosswind that will ever save, maybe for hurricane or something, that would really affect the windage, or the bullet going sideways, that sort of thing, at up to 300 meters. We point and fire this thing, that's in terms of direction. If it's zeroed in, the bullets will go straight. You'll just need to account then for hold off or hold on, that sort of thing. Okay, but on this rifle, of course, we have a quick setting here. So you just press the button in there. So this, of course, we're going to be shooting up to 20 meters, 30 meters with this rifle. So probably you just zeroed it in for whatever distance. Also, we are shooting shot through a smoothbore barrel, the 4.5 mil steel shot through that said barrel. So we're looking at it nice enough grouping that's more or less like a human silhouette target that will be able to put the BBs on that. But we're not going to be shooting like Alpha, Bravo, Charlie Zone and see how good we can go. So long as it hits the silhouette at a distance of say 20-30 meters, that's good enough for a rifle like that. So that is, by the way, not rifle, that's a smoothbore barrel. So otherwise, you even have the hammer here. So if you'd want to field strip this, normally on a Kalashnikov, you'd have to push this in, and then your upper receiver will come off. Then you can take out the whole bolt assembly, and from there on, you'd see the one screw in there, other screw there. Well, the stock was affixed onto this receiver itself, so we have a 5-point collapsible stock here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, that's it. And likewise, then it is folding as well. So by means of this little button, you just press it in, and this folds around like this. So you can store the rifle or keep the rifle like this. If you want to do with the sling around, keep it stored, but it would be a bit impractical. I would say this is more for like, you in the car, packing, you're driving with your chummy or whatever, you're inside the car, then you can hold the rifle like this, and it just makes it just easier to get in and out of the vehicle. This, of course, in your normal tactical, your personal preference setting, chucking it like this, it will be a bit of a mission to get this in and out of the car. So for whatever medium you prefer to travel with. So like this, it's really easy to navigate around with, especially around doorways, constricted passageways, that sort of thing. Or otherwise just for storing the rifle. For example, in this lovely little rifle bag that we also stock for nice assault rifle. So this rifle would fit nice and niche inside of here, no problems. Yeah. So yeah, back to the topic on hand. Okay, so on top here we have a red dot sight. So it allows for 5 levels of red and 5 levels of green illumination. So there is already a battery inserted into what we call this the rheostat. So it's already a battery inserted there. It uses a CR232 type inserted there. So to activate this, you would just rotate this onto whatever. Maybe it's set at number 1 now. You just rotate it, goes dimmer, then goes off, and then there goes your green. There's your bright green setting, and then rotate it 5 more times. 6 more times, and then it will be off again. So that's really lovely. And this, of course, you can just zero it in once you have it fitted. This, of course, here for elevation, and then likewise for windage. So how you do that, you would just remove these caps. So unlike a typical telescope, red dot sights zeroing the opposite way. So instead of shifting the point of impact, which you turn these for, so you'll see there on that slot there. So in one direction it directs up, and in the other direction it indicates down. So normally on a telescope, when you rotate it up, your point of impact would move upwards. Whereas now on a red dot sight, your red dot will move in the according direction. So if you were to rotate up, your red dot would go up. Yeah, not your point of impact. So this thing, it's plastic caps, of course. I mean, this red dot doesn't cost that much. It is a bit basic. I wouldn't call it waterproof by any measure. So just take care if you have one of these. This battery compartment, I believe, does have an O-ring in there, so that does make it dust-proof as well as waterproof to a certain extent. Yeah. Otherwise, what's that? Oh, right. So your safety and your fire selector is integrated in this lever, typical Kalashnikov style. It's come through with all the years, all the iterations that Kalashnikovs have been engineered and built. They always came out with this little lever. Excuse me, this little lever. So it's just a section made out of sheet steel, like most of the stamped steel, just like the receivers of all the Kalashnikovs, most of the Kalashnikovs that were made for general use. You did get the mold receivers, and they were considered more durable, but typical in Russia, you never had a mold receiver. You just had these cheap stamped receivers, and they worked fine. I mean, for like 5,000 shots, I mean, this thing would hold up and it wouldn't come apart. Eventually, stamped steel does meet its maker. That's when mold receiver does shine through in terms of durability. But otherwise, in terms of usability and accuracy, both receivers are, so long as it's built according to the blueprint of the Kalashnikov, both will perform the same otherwise. So here at the base we have our semi-automatic, then we have our full automatic setting, and then on top you have your safety, and this of course disengages your trigger, so you cannot pull your trigger. So when you have it on full auto, you would of course just hold the trigger, and this thing would just keep on firing until the magazine is depleted. Likewise, then here at the base we have our semi-automatic function, so per shot fired this would discharge a BB. Right here we have our cocking bolt, exactly like on a Kalashnikov, except it does not go all the way back. So on a Kalashnikov you like all the way back through there, but on a BB rifle like this is the maximum that it goes. It's nice, doesn't really sound authentic. Kalashnikov, of course, when you do rack this thing, you can hear it. Yeah, magazine, this is a 1-to-1 replica, by the way, of a Kalashnikov. If you do put it next to a Kalashnikov, say for some telling features, maybe like the muzzle brake, and for someone who knows what to spot for in a firearm, how to discern one from a dummy gun, such as a prop gun, blank gun, CO2 rifle, that sort of thing, a person would not be able to tell the difference between the two. So realistic this thing is built. The receiver here, of course, not stamped metal, less mild steel. This is, of course, good old polymer. Your pistol grip here, which is really quite advanced. This is definitely an AR-15 type, made to fit on an AK receiver. So again, nice feature, aftermarket feature. This thing is rich with, literally rich with aftermarket features. Picatinny rail, as I've mentioned, Picatinny shroud here. This, of course, this is your barrel at the base. So on a Kalashnikov, this would be your blowback rod, or this you would have a long piston basically here. You would not have the direct impingement system like with your gas going in here and directly affecting the blowback. Your rod head sits about there. So when the gas, like your bullet, the pressure that pushes the bullet out the barrel, and some of the gas would be redirected depending on how rich your ammunition is. A lot of the excess pressure would build up, would then redirect here, and that would push the piston back here. It's nicer, so it does shoot cleaner, of course. And then your piston will just push your bolt back all the way, resets your next magazine feed, as it goes up, the extractor takes the casing out, ejects that. The magazine feeds and brings the new bullet up, and then as the bolt goes forward, it pushes your next bullet into battery and locks the breech, and then etc. So otherwise, the magazine, also your banana clip style. So a lot of people do get this wrong on the first few attempts. It's really simple. Just push it up like so. Yeah. And then, of course, with the magazine, release your tip still. Comes out like that. So it's like this. Really nice and sort of simple. Get hold of it. Really lovely. So this side. So this is a magazine. It's a 28 shot magazine in .177 caliber. This flap here comes off, and this exposes your pressure chamber basically. So these are your pressure chamber. Actually sits in here, but this is your, let's call it the CO2 capsule chamber. So here on this side it indicates first, and then by default this one would be second. So you tighten this business up first. This one, of course, isn't tightened up. I just pre-inserted it just for illustrative purposes. Your second CO2 capsule would go in there, so you tighten this one up first and then this one. Otherwise, if you do it the other way around, you chuck this capsule in here and you tighten this business up first, then all your gas will just leak out, because you have to pressurize this one first, or tighten this one up first and then that one. So for the purposes, so there's your little Allen key. It's nice, it fits inside the magazine. So here, hex drive, of course, you just insert it there, just tighten this business up all the way. Okay, on this lid, simple, just latch it there on the top, bring it down like that. Insert that and pop your uncle. And of course, I have this already preloaded. So see, there's all the PVs, like more or less a double stack or staggered stack. 28 of them lined up there. And there's a feeder hole. Nice thing I like about this, the feeder hole is like a funnel shape, and it's nice and big. So if you're using one of those CO2 BB containers that has like the nozzle end, you can literally just have this caught there at the base, and just with the magazine like tilted a little bit forward, just chuck your beavers up. Your beavers will go in there and they'll automatically just run forward, etc. All the way up here, and then once it's full, you see can't fit another one in, then you just reset your magazine follower there, and then your BBs are engaged so that there's spring tension behind them. So as you shoot them, the spring follower will just feed your BBs one after the other. Really nice, of course, as I mentioned, CO2 rifles. So using 2 CO2 capsules, and those are relatively cheap, easy to come by. If you waste 1 or 2 of them, it's not the end of the world. You can just get you can just get some more, just use it in that sort of thing. Otherwise, just take the usual precautions as you would with any CO2 driven application, such as with gas guns, as you got paintball guns. As a lot of you might already know, seals and CO2 aren't the best of friends, So what we want to do is we don't want to keep this unnecessarily pressurized. So let's say maybe you're rolling out for the night, you want your cat ready, etc. Just pressurize the thing for 5 hours, 6, 7, 8 hours. You can keep it pressurized, not a problem. Once you're done, just depressurize the cat. Use some Singer 3-in-1 oil, just chuck it a bit on your seals, that sort of thing, and then keep your gun stored away then. When you do need to use the cat again, you can use it in a, or you can keep it in a, I should say, it's a ready position. So like this, CO2 capsules on pressurized. I just take from here, let's say there was another CO2 capsule in there, you just take your allen out, tighten this business up, this one first, this one second, tighten that business up. Both are pressurized, this gun is not ready to rock and roll. And there I would just close that business up like this, just engage it, cock the bolt, and I'm ready to rock and roll. Okay, so just a final rundown on all the goodies and gadgets on here. We have the sling here, nice 2-point sling. It is of course adjustable, and it does come with the CPF Night Combat Combo adjustable. So for my personal ergonomic setting, I prefer it there. This is the shortest as it will allow. I'm not the tallest person in the world, so let's say it's like this. I have it here retained more or less, you can see more or less at the rear. Just I prefer it that way instead of that. Just a choice. So for me, it's basically sits like this. So when I would, for example, need it, it's up there, I can present it. I ideally prefer it like this. It's just personal. So I present my rifle ready to rock and roll. Yeah. So you could shorten this sling really if you really wanted to. I mean, you can just nip off a section, nip, and then just tighten, just sew it together. Then the sling will be a bit shorter. Or if you're like me and you would appreciate the shorter sling a bit more, then that would certainly come in handy. I did it with one of my previous slings on TMC I had, and that worked wonders. And nothing is as annoying as a sling that doesn't, like a sling is basically, a sling to a rifle is what a holster is to a pistol. So if the holster is not fitting your gat properly, then you're going to have problems, and it's going to annoy you before long. So likewise with a rifle, if your sling is not appropriate, if too big or maybe too small, too short, then it will definitely annoy you. You won't be able to perform your tactical maneuvers as easy as you'd like to, and it's going to become a pain before long. But for now, this is fine. This is just for demonstration purposes. Someone that might be, a bit longer than me, this might suit them a bit better. Okay, so this little foregrip here, this foregrip you see here, this of course is 3D printed. This is just a fastener we used, M4 fastener with a socket drive head there. This is nice. Yeah, it's a nice full-size one. It has a type of stippling on there. It sits nice and fast. You can just tighten this business down, and it would sit nice and properly. It sits a bit loose, so I haven't tightened it down. This is just to again show you guys how it is. Hollowed out there at the bottom to reduce weight. Otherwise, this thing is nice and solid. You could always just go with one of those angled foregrips, like the Madpool style one. You grip it like this, and you'd have your hand like chopped on there, with your pressure plate for your flashlight on there, that sort of thing. You push it, and then the flashlight comes on. You can hold it like that if that's your thing. But I think on a Kalashnikov, this is perfect. I mean, just for illustration, you hold it like this. This for me is fine. Yeah. Okay, so also what you get included with this deal, of course, is the laser. So this is a nice green laser, and at night it does create a bit of a beam as well. So just to show you guys, green laser, that's nice. And I had it mounted. It comes with this mounting bracket, by the way. So the positioning of this is maybe, I would say, a little suboptimal. You have to reach all the. But for the most part, if you're going to go into and do your thing, for the most part, you probably just run with this. Laser pointers, mostly, in my opinion, let's say you're running with a stop holder, you're going through constricted space. Maybe you don't want to or with it full tactical style, you just want to feel like hip firing this thing, then something like this would certainly come in handy, especially if it's producing that beam. That would likewise alert your other guys who are rolling with you, indicate to them where your line of fire is, and likewise then it will provide you with your point of impact, or where your BBs would be going. So you'll see there as these gaps there, so this you can of course take off and adjust, correct this for windage and elevation. Again, just minding, unlike with your red dot, which is basically mounted on top, this one is mounted on the side. So there's no hold over and hold under, then there's no hold over to this, how to put this, hold over sideways, so to say. So let's say it's zeroed in for 20 meters, so if you're going to be shooting beyond that, you don't correct up and down, you have to correct to the sides. So just bear that in mind. Okay, otherwise I think foregrip, we have the laser, red dot, it comes with some gas and BBs, gas and BBs as well, so which is really nice. You get the whole complete kit to get you started in rock and rolling. For shorter people, of course like this, people with longer arms, chuck it like this. Intermediate people such as myself would probably hold it like around there. Okay, I think we are just about ready then to get started on the firing range, and I think that's exactly, so see you guys at the firing range. Okay, so here we are at the firing range now. So my rifle of course is unloaded, practice firing range safety. So I did gas up the magazine now. Again, I'll just quickly go well. I did that. The BBs of course are all preloaded, and basically what I did was just to take the key on, took the key and just tightened that business up, pressurized. You can hear there's no leaking on it, no noise coming from the magazine, which means everything is good and we are ready to rock and roll. So this business, we can sort of click there and just reinstall this cover flap there, just like that. All is sitting in place. From here, how we do this, sleeve it up, magazine, this, and bolt went all the way forward, so there's no bolt hole open. This rifle also, by the way, just put this safe. This rifle, by the way, does have a bolt open, hold open feature. So if you unlock a Kalashnikov, a typical Kalashnikov, the older school ones, you did not get a bolt hold open like on an AR-15. So if you were to fire this rifle, in this case, now fine, it's full auto, semi-automatic. And once I fired out my last PP, the bolt would hold open. Not realistically, but just in a sort of, how should we say, semi-blowback hold open style, so just like that. Not like you'd have on some KWC pistols where it's, very realistic, and the slide would, for example, hold open, or the bolt would hold all open all the way. This one would just hold open to a position like that. When you check, then you would be able to see. Bolt isn't close, it's holding open, and then you would know, of course, your magazine is depleted, and that's why the gun is not firing. So this is blowback gun, of course, so it will give you that simulated recoil feedback. So per shot fire, you will get a bit of this feedback, or fully automatically get. So that is really nice. It's not, again, full blowback, it's just what we call a semi-blowback. So use it, because it's not pushing the bolt all the way open, similar to a CO2 pistol. It's not pushing the slide all the way back, which of course is more realistic, and it does give you a bit more powerful feedback, or harder feedback. But full blowback guns, of course, consume more gas per shot fired, whereas semi-blowback guns, you enjoy more muzzle velocity than you would on a full blowback gun. But likewise then, okay, so this one, okay, so I did cock the gun, so I'm going hot now. This is now, I'm going to chuck it semi-automatic first. So I have my target sheet set up there, everything's safe, no one's at the back, there's nothing in my line of fire. I'm not going to shoot anyone, just this target I've set up here. This is about, judging like this, about 10 meters. Okay, here we go. So there's a bit of noise to it, as you can. Now I can just coil full auto. Okay, so you can hear even there, because I only have one gas inserted the gas already, because I'm firing full automatic, the gas is already depleting. Of course, if I had two gas inserted there, it would not deplete off that fast. Okay, so that's really nice. And of course, as you can see, the bolt did hold open there. So I'm taking out my magazine. So empty magazine, of course. I'm tucking it back in. Let's just see if it will fire. See the bolt refuses to close because there's no bullets. Can't do anything about that. So resetting the bolt. Of course, okay, the hammer reset now. So that is really nice feature. Cocking, so it's not, this gun absolutely will not fire if there's no BBs in there, which is really nice, exactly like a firearm is, because on a lot of global guns you can sort of, by holding the slide catch down, you can jumbo the gun into still shooting despite there being no ammunition on this. But on this one, as you guys now seen, you can't do that. So if there's no BBs in this magazine, this gun will absolutely not fire, which is really nice. It's surprising. I didn't even realize it up until now, so which is really nice. So this magazine, by the way, is still pressurized. So some people might think, but I'm not shooting because there's no gas. Fair enough. Maybe because straight for the guy. Still enough gas to easily get off a shot. Okay. There. Just back in position. Don't worry about that. So we're just quickly going to go to the target sheet and we're just going to have a look now. Okay. Okay, so as you guys can see, we've got a bit all over the show. This is just a typical target sheet. Of course, I did fire full automatic. I didn't really even aim. I was just firing, just more or less aimed at the target. I wasn't really specifically targeting, wasn't looking for accuracy. I was just opening fire. The semi-auto shots would, of course, be more accurate, but shooting full auto at that distance, I mean, for this, it's not too bad. The red dot wasn't even zeroed in or anything. I just literally just mounted up, just started firing with it, and this is what I got. It's not too bad. Okay, so here we are, guys. Hope you enjoyed that little shooting demonstration. Really nice. I enjoyed it myself. So there's another point on the sling. If it does get annoying, instead of removing it all the way, use this buckle and just disconnect it like that. Bob's your uncle. Now we are free of the sling. Collapse it like this. Now put it in the rifle bag, put the sling in there as well, or if you prefer, you can just keep the sling on, chuck it in with the rifle like that, however you prefer. The red dot, of course, does come with a set of lens caps. You just fit them on there. This, of course, is a 40mm objective diameter, and of course does not feature any magnification. It's just a normal reflex sight, and it's fixed at 1x magnification, or basically human sight. Yeah, I think that's it. I think I've touched on just about everything now. Oh yes, gas economy, because it is a semi-blowback gun, you guys saw for yourself there with a fresh CO2 capsule, managed about one magazine. With 2 CO2 capsules, presumably you should be able to manage 2 magazines, although I have previously fired it and I found that you could get about 3 magazines per 2 CO2 capsules, which is not bad at all for the price you pay for one of those CO2 capsules. And then just to touch on one of these other booties, this one has been on the market for a bit longer, also really nice. This is the MPX that we stock, also a very nice attractive price. It's a bit smaller. The MPX by 6L, of course, is chambered in 9x19mm. You would not have the magazine this long. You'd have it a bit more similar to the MP5, that's also chambered in 9x19. It's slimmer, and of course probably be like this because you have a full 30 round magazine. This magazine, of course, is also 30 round capacity, and this one does fire pellets. So the nice thing about firing pellets is that you have a variety of options at your disposal, as opposed to, let's say, firing shot where the only variety you really have is between steel and lead, heavier and softer. Also the type of cladding you have in it, nickel clad, copper clad, or maybe like black oxide. I've seen some of those, but I think it's more like a black paint or some such. But yeah, otherwise how this magazine works, basically just has a pellet belt. It only goes in one way. The belt, of course, just comes out straight like that. You do get a seating tool with it, or 3-in-1 tool. So the seating side of it, you would chop the pellets in one way, and then just using the seating tool, just seat them in one at a time. This rifle, of course, is a precision rifle. It's not, like this. But then again, the price on shot, what do you pay for something like this as opposed to something like this? Probably more or less the same price. However, there's 6,000 in here and there's 500 in here. Big difference, and if we're shooting at like up to 20 meters, do you really need that precision? Or do you just need to give a good guy a good hiding with it? Pellets will have more likelihood of penetration because of the tip of it. They also tend to be a bit heavier, so they carry more kinetic energy with them. Steel shot usually weighs in about 5.4 grains, so they'll typically fly faster, as opposed to, if it's using the same power source, that is. Whereas a pellet, typical what I would recommend for the 6-hour would be something like your Exact Express style bullet, which weighs in 7.87 grains. So definitely you get more muzzle energy out of it. And likewise, because it uses one of these 88 or 90 gram disposable threaded cartridges that fits in here in the stock, the power source on it is greater than, for example, on this. So it's usually with CO2, the thing, a larger receptacle packs more power or packs more pressure as opposed to a smaller receptacle, if both are full, of course. So larger receptacle, so this will pack considerably more pressure as opposed to the CO2, small CO2 capsule, which would pack maybe like half, I'm not too sure, but presumably just a fraction of the pressure that this one would be packing. So on this one of course is advertised 370, they say, I believe up to 430 feet per second. This one, they make similar claims, but then again, we are shooting heavier ammunition, we are shooting lighter ammunition. So you see also your shot count per fill. On this one, as mentioned, 3 magazines, that's about 20, let's say 30 times 3, that's about just shy of 60. Whereas this one, you can get a full 6 magazines, so that's about like 180 shots you can get off of this. Presumably there is also regulated there, just to sort of regulate, I believe so. I'm talking on the correction here, but otherwise, nice rifle. This one, of course, is made in Japan. This one is made in Taiwan. Nice flip-up iron sights, and these are, of course, proper metal. As opposed, this is more polymer, with the exception of the front sight. But the front sight is fixed. You cannot make any adjustments on it. Whereas on the rear sight, you can only correct you for elevation. This one is a more precision rifle. Of course, you're firing lead pellets through a rifle barrel, and of course here you have a fully functional fluted muzzle brake fixed on here. And I believe this business can come off, although I haven't done it myself. I believe you need to strip the handguard off here, and then using a tool, might be a crush washer on here, similar to a firearm, I believe. You can't thread this thing off by hand. Presumably using, it has the, they are notches, so if you have an adjustable wrench, you could just fix it on there and twist it off, or use a bit of a heat gun, just to get that crush washer or whatever is retaining it on there. You just loosen it, and then you can take this muzzle brake off and get a proper silencer, WFL silencer adapter, fit it on there, and then chuck a rifle silencer. Silencer will probably stick out like that, etc. And then, if you want to shoot more quietly, then that certainly is an option. Otherwise, this is a nice small little carbine here. I'm not going to insert the belt at this time, but basically this business fits in like this. Magazine does look a bit stubby. There's your magazine release on that side. It appears to be ambidextrous, but these are actually your bolt release, and like course your magazine release on this side is non-functional. It's just there for show. You also see that, okay, of course, no forward assist, it's an AR-15, but you have a field strip. It's based sort of upon an AR-15 platform. I mean, you have the field strip pin here at the back, so on the real deal, you just push this pin out, and then this whole upper receiver would hinge off from the lower receiver. There's a lower pin as well that you can see there. Of course, these are non-functional. You push it out, and then you separate the lower receiver from the lower receiver from the upper receiver completely. Handguard here is nice, although a bit bleak in my opinion. I mean, these are just holes. You can just, but then again, also sometimes it could be a bit more advantageous to just have these short rail strips. I mean, you can flashlight, laser, or however you prefer, chuck this little bit there under to chuck your head, to chuck your foregrip on, and then this one would be for your laser. But yeah, then the other side would be a bit bleak. We did 3D print an option, what do you call it, a full rail option. So so you'll see all these holes. They are tapped, by the way, metric threaded in M3, typical standard threaded. So with a business that we 3D printed, it's a full rail, so you can just fit it on with multiple screws. Of course, it won't be black, it will be a stainless steel color. Just thread them all in there. Then you can transform this into having a full Picatinny shroud, if that's what you prefer. Otherwise, for most people, you probably, these can come off, of course. You just thread this out and fix it here at the bottom. You can fix your foregrip on there. Then on the side, you probably have a laser and whatever other primary optic you just have mounted on top here. Yeah, really nice, made in Japan again. The F in pentacle there, that implies that the gun is powered under 7.5 joules. So it's a German regulation. So this means you can sell this rifle in Germany. You won't have any legal complications with that. This one is also F in pentacle here, so it is under 7.5 joules. So yeah, in terms of how many joules output, I haven't chronographed them, so I can't say, but presumably should be more or less. This one should be a bit more powerful. Likewise, a bit more accurate, but likewise it does use these pricey 88 gram cartridges. And the nice thing that I do like about this, this is just that standard 88 gram cartridge threading there. So you do get this the paintball tank adapters. So one of those you would just thread in there. Then your paintball tank you can thread on there. A lot of you guys that may already own one of these, you yourselves, due to a lot of research, might already be familiar with those. Just thread it on there. Your paintball tank you thread on there. Of course, this thing would now lose its utility. I mean, you can't fit this on a paintball tank. Although you do get the slip-on socks that we sell. It's a neoprene sock that fits over the paintball tank, and then likewise has the butt stock at the back. You might just need to tool the inside of it a little bit with a power tool or trim or whatever, and just fit it on, etc. And then you have, although it's gonna, realistically speaking, a paintball tank is longer than this. So this, like this, it's nice. You have this. It's nice. It's compact. It sits into you. But of course, with a longer stock, you probably should be shooting like this, which could probably be a bit annoying. It could probably, but then again, the TMC Elite is quite the same. I personally find it a bit annoying with that 13 cubic inch tag sitting here, and you don't have like a very confident grasp on the rifle. I find it super annoying. It makes more sense for me personally. Otherwise, charging handle here at the top. So AR-15 style, nothing fancy about this. This of course is all nickel. This is semi-automatic only. Yeah, so you can see it's an internal blowback. So per shot fired, the gun is cocked itself, etc. This cocking charging handle is non-reciprocal. So that means, unlike with a firearm, when you're firing this thing, this is not going to do this to shot fire. It stays like this. This is just to toggle the actual bolt inside the, yeah, if that will fire. Otherwise, you have a sling. Yeah, this is polymer, by the way. But yeah, you have a sling swivel here. You can fix your sling on there. And then here at the back, you have a QD, which what appears to be a QD socket. No, this is not really. Although you could probably, one of those QD sockets, you could probably just use a soldering iron or something, just broaden out the hole and impart one of those there. So you can, because that's normally what you do on a stock like that. You can just chuck your QD sling swivel on there. Otherwise, you could probably just make use of these holes there. So if you have a 12-point sling, if it doesn't fit through this hole, just use a carabiner or a keyring like I did on this business and fix it around there. Attach the 2-point sling on there. The other point, preferably you don't want to like make use of. This is not practical. This you'd probably presumably want mounted here on the side. So you attach your sling on there and a sling on there, and you can carry it like this as well. Really nice rifle with a lot of potential. It's just with these 88 gram cartridges, you know, I'm not going to beat around the bush and tell you guys all kinds of things. Those 88 gram cartridges are pricey. You know, back in the, you know, when I got back into this game, like 2017, you could pick up a 2-pack of those, you know, for a reasonable price of $300. You know, nowadays the price is like flipping 500, depending on where you buy it from. Presumably, like, you'll be lucky if you can score it for like $400 at a clearance sale or something, you know, but you can expect to pay $500, $550 for that. So that's why that paintball adapter does make a bit more sense in my opinion. The caliber is a bit small, but for, you know, most people buying this rifle, they're not going to really buy it for home defense. They want to buy it as a toy, to enjoy it as a toy, you know, just to fool in the backyard a bit around with. It's not like a paintball marker where you can, you know, use it to repel or break up wards and to enforce law and order, that sort of thing. You probably could, but, you know, shooting a pellet at someone, you know, you'll bust him open with that thing. You know, shoot him. I've seen some looters and stuff shot with air rifles before, pellets and stuff. It's quite a business. It's not nice. I've seen like some of these people are close. So it's something I would personally do. You know, it just comes down to, you know, personal character. Paintball gun is certainly a more humane way to enforce law and order, as opposed to, you know, using pellets and, you know, shooting people open, that sort of thing. Nevertheless, you know, you can put that silencer adapter, paintball tank adapter, just throw it in there, and your paintball tank, you can use a 9-ounce, 12-ounce. I would recommend use a 12-ounce, make it worth your while. You can get a, you know, a modest amount of shots out of that. Yeah, I do think there is a regulator there, because I can't really. I've seen some videos on YouTube. The larger the tank, of course, the more and your muzzle energy does increase. The larger the CO2 tank that you use, so definitely it packs more pressure, and so definitely that would positively impact your muzzle energy, and then consequently, your feet per second that you'll be packing out of this thing. So certainly, I've seen sort of like other guys, what they do is you get the adapter, and then I'm not sure, it's like how do they, like a yeah, not, but you run the hose out of it, and then the one guy said made like with a hole saw, just cut the hole in there. So this business you'd have in there, and then you just run your line via this, but then your CO2 tank you just have on your person, so you're still line bound, which a lot of people find annoying, but at least then your tank is not on the mark itself. So your pressure source is off the gap, but it's just sitting on your person somewhere, you know, but you have this line which can get a bit annoying. I personally, you know, just prefer to have the power source on the tank, So you're not bound to this gun. If you need to put this thing down to go do something else, you have the liberty to go and do that, as opposed to having this thing sort of stuck. And then when you want to like separate yourself from it, you need to degas, bleed out, whatever, disconnect, quick coupler, put this thing aside, and then you pick it up, do this whole shebang again. It's not my personal thing, although a lot of people will swear that. Yeah, it does come with, as I previously mentioned, the 3-in-1 tool. So one part of the tool would be of course to seat your pellets. The other part of the tool would be of course to this business there. So you'll see this very similar like an AR-15, the I think it, yeah, what was it? On the M16A2, I think it first featured. We could like put your bullet in there and then rotate. Put the bullet, just rotate it there. No, those ones you could do it. You had dials. Yeah, I think you had the dials. You could just, but anyways, here on this likewise then. So the third part of this tool, you'll see a flat drive there, and that you would insert the butt end of that 3-in-1 tool, insert it there, and then you can correct your for windage and here for elevation. So again, this is a precision rifle. You can expect some decent groupings with this. You can expect to shoot maybe 50 meters, although your ballistic coefficient at that distance, I don't expect to kill rabbits at that distance. It's not what this thing was really meant for, unless you maybe use like a larger PVCO2 tank, and you can then expect to get, pack 550 feet per second, which is more or less what the Artemis CP2 would pack. That is 0.177 caliber, still a bit small to go do rabbit shooting, but you could like shoot even tiny smaller game. If your shot placement is good, you mainly dispatch like smaller invasive species, that sort of thing, in a sort of more legal manner. Other than that, yeah, most of your features here are realistically molded in. This would of course be a 9mm ejection port there, and the dust cover is molded in realistically. So normally on AR-15, cock the gun and this flap will just come hinging open. So now you get the push up by brass comes out there. There's no brass deflector here, which could be a bit annoying. You don't like really want this, or if you like shooting with your 45 offset, this coming into your face, super annoying. I mean, you have to duck and dive your own brass casings, intent on coming for your life. Normally you would have a brass deflector which deflects the casings off. Otherwise, yeah, here's your fire selector, so your safety here is ambidextrous, which is nice. A lot of people do think, the rifle is ambidextrous, so cutting edge, etc. I'm not a left-hand person. I don't care about that. If it's right-hand person friendly, it's fine. I'm not gonna only time I'm going to be fiddling on this side of the rifle with any finger aside from my thumb would be, of course, just to reset the bolt. And even so, I'm not gonna I'm just gonna give it a whack like that. And like this is the military style. You bolt is all open. Take a magazine, replace it. You're not gonna be like, you're just gonna whack it like that. You'll be with a flat palm, especially in a stressful situation, you'll be more likely to strike that bolt hold open, hit it, bullet goes into battery and pops your uncle. There you go. Yeah, nice little feature it has here at the base as well. Yeah, this is not gonna happen. You probably have to push a knife in there, but I can definitely see this thing is meant to hinge open, and then you can chuck in some, I don't know, things you would chuck into the handle of a rifle, whatever that might be. Nice storage space. Normally you'd have your like a cleaning kit inside there. If you have but to get into this barrel, there's no obvious manner. So how are you going to clean the barrel? That is a subject for another time. But yeah. Otherwise, nice rifle. You know, definitely look at getting that paintball tank. That will save you a lot of cost. It will not look very flush, that sort of thing, but at least, you know, when you're packing this rifle, to have a semi-automatic option in .177 caliber that is packing decent muzzle energy, you know, that you're not going to be forking out an arm and a leg for, you know, in terms of running costs, just to shoot your own gap in your own backyard. You know, CO2 is relatively cheaper to refill it, as opposed to keep on buying those disposable receptacles. Yeah, that's what I would certainly recommend. If I still had my MPX, that's how I would run it. Otherwise, yeah, nothing not to like about this rifle. Really like one. It is officially licensed by 6R. This, of course, doesn't have any licensing, but it is made by CROSMAN. Difference in quality, I would say, look, it depends on what it comes down to. I mean, for the price that you get on this, I mean, it's excellent value. You know, if you like shooting BBs, and you know, if you can want to, how shall I say, you can definitely use it as a CPF night combat tool. You know, you're going out with the O's at night. You know, this definitely does look realistic. It looks apart, but in terms of muzzle energy, it's not going to have that, shall we say, the impact that a paintball gun would. Paintball gun, I would certainly more recommend it, but it also depends though. I mean, you do have the realism of it. I mean, what's not to like about proper Kalashnikov, that sort of thing. But yeah, paintball gun. Likewise, you have this CO2 tank here, which a lot of people will find annoying, whereas on this, your pure source is basically concealed inside the magazine, and that's a nice thing about it. Despite being a small caliber, I mean, you can still shoot and sting the guy. BBs only at maybe like close distances, all the BBs like really penetrating. But otherwise, shooting from a distance, I mean, it's going to do a bit of damage. He's definitely going to feel it, make no mistake. I mean, BBs even at like 200, 320 feet per second. You know, I had someone shoot me, you know, with a Super Cat once at like 20 meters on my back, that you say. And that BB like shot the skin open, not a problem. I mean, 320 feet per second is more than enough for a typical cheap BB to shoot you open. It's a small cavity, but it's a lot of pain. I can guarantee you that. I mean, even like a semi-automatic Glock 17 gat. I had someone shoot me with that as well, like, you know, more in the region of 350. That's extreme. That's excruciating. That pain. That's small. That's still BB. People underestimate these BBs. It does so much damage, you know. Plus this magazine capacity, it will definitely hurt. I mean, those BBs will go straight, because it's so small. It will go straight to clothing and do a lot of BB damage. I mean, that's gonna turn someone's day upside down very easily. So of course, practice good. I should say, practice good discretion when pointing something like this at someone. Likewise, discharging it at someone. You know, do so with when you have good reason to actually do so. Not just indiscriminately. Sorry, it's just a disclaimer. Just FYI, so you know people don't come back as, yeah, but that guy said I can go around, take this Kalashnikov around and just shoot paras left and right. Use your own discretion. We sell the products to you. We say, guys, here's some nice options. We recommend this out of practical, personal experience. We would say, you know, for this purpose of what a lot of people might be looking for, a nice Kalashnikov, a replica, this will certainly fit the bill for you. It will do the job. However, when you actually decide to shoot someone or to use it in a scenario where your life might be threatened, that of your colleagues might be threatened, or where physical, how shall we say, other people's assets and personal belongings would be under threat of being vandalized or stolen, that sort of thing, you know, legally you can use this. You know, even against the animal, the South African law does make special provision for using something like an air rifle for personal protection against criminal elements, and likewise animals that might want to take a chomp out of you. I think, yeah, also this rifle comes with a nice speed loader, which is really nice. Yeah, so how you operate your PVC, you just chuck in there, it sits like this. It has a locking position like this. Then otherwise you just, like a normal airsoft loader, you just load up your PVC like that into your magazine. So how we would do this, your magazine follow all the way to the base. This is loaded up with PVC, so we would just like hold it like this, so the PVC gravity fed that way, and just shake it a bit if it's not cooperating till it fills up all the way. And then of course you just reset it, pump your uncle, load up your gas, pressurize the magazine, load it up, cock the mark, and you're ready to rock and roll. Take it off safe, and you're ready to shoot. Some really nice toys. I mean, for the price we can hardly argue. You do get a proper Kalashnikov replica here for this price. And this one, not completely realistic looking, but 6 Hour does claim authentic weight, balance and handling, not necessarily being a one-to-one replica. So yeah, just be well aware of that. The actual magazine on an MPX, it's 9mm magazine like an MP5, and it's like more properly. And this stock, you're not going to have this funky looking stock. You will probably have in countries where it is allowed, such as ours, have a folding option of buying the actual firearm variant with the folding stock, which is really nice. Yeah, so yeah, some really nice cats here, nothing not to like about them. Just to show you guys, this is the packaging for the laser dot, packaging for the red dot here, 1x40 CO2 capsules here, and there's some options of pellets that you could use for the MPX Chrome Magnum. I would certainly recommend it. Nice hollow point option, made by H&N. German brand, but I believe nowadays H&N is, yeah, I think last I heard it was made in Turkey, but I believe that could still be made in Germany. Yeah, otherwise, nice pellet, 8.8 grains. It's fairly lightweight. You should be shooting these pellets at like, what was it? 20 meters with no problems, and it's nice hollow point, so it will expand on impact, creating a nice little wound or damaged cavity. These gamma rockets, also nice. I had a chummy who used to like shooting through his MPX, these rockets, and they do quite a bit of damage thanks to that solid tip. I believe it is a copper clad steel BB loaded in there in front, and it does do a bit of damage, specifically because of how molecularly dense steel is as opposed to lead. Lead is a softer metal, so it will yield easier, and it's nice for rifling as it twists to the rifling. But with that steel tip, you'll have a bit more impact. And then this is the standard, which I would recommend, the JSP Express Diabolos, 7.87 grain, lightweight for getting a bit more feet per second, shooting a bit faster. Yeah, and shooting a bit more precise because you have the JSP name here. And then of course lethals. Some people do complain that these do not work all that perfectly with the MPX, but some people can, you know, make a plan with it, make it wing, make it work. These weigh in 5.55 grains, and they are nice and flyweight. Presumably called lethal. I had a look at some YouTube videos at the time. Damage that these do is not too bad at all. I mean, again, with this solid tip here, I'm just not too 100% on what these tips are. I've never like really, but yeah, it does seem to be like a, yeah, it's definitely a steel tip here, a flyweight with a steel tip there. So similar to what you'd have with a BB, but of course copper clad for better corrosion resistance as opposed to this nickel. I mean, nickel in no time at all, just with a little bit of exposure to human saliva would in a few weeks start to rust. Not so much with copper. 5.5, so these weigh in slightly heavier than these, so plus also with this polymer skirt, so we'll get nice accuracy with it, and likewise with that steel tip, which will aid in penetration. Yeah, I think that's about it for now. I hope you guys did enjoy this little review, and we shall certainly see you guys in the next one. Have a lovely evening.